reason for Papa considerable for continuous for reason value original Papa. Also, only original Papa only a leader or sort of person occupied at the position of a leader was has some there's a bit of Papa has some business would sort of resent or bother towards us. He are too comfortable to even bother or sort of perish towards others. That's probably starting to identify that he doesn't fit to be a leader, neither could he. He couldn't be a leader, but I'm not sure it's not therefore sort of treated as if he couldn't be. Sometimes it sort of takes a bit of projection move, which kind of projection there of also. Our celebrations or celebrations for lots of our parties are suitable or proper, right, for proper after, right, proper fit, for proper matches, for proper right, for proper matches, for proper matches, for proper also towards of, for there for proper after, for proper right, for proper matches, for proper also towards of. Because soon that age will come. Spiritual Papa also considerable for Papa also family, Papa also considerable for relates towards of groups that or also person or Papa also personnel, reason for Papa or person, or reason Papa also Papa or reason Papa also for reason for Papa also for reason for Papa or reason there for Papa also or reason for Papa or also for reason for Papa or reason for Papa. Then those wouldn't move as if it has a chance or has a chance of which Papa also of those or Papa or wouldn't has as if it has the hope or reason for Papa those there would be lots of groups of those would either sort of be crazy or inactive or sort of Papa sort of major inactive or be crazy. Or each Papa also, which Papa were being active or Papa major weakened, or each Papa being active or each Papa were crazy, each Papa were also original for Papa also Papa, original for Papa were being weakened. That's what those Nazi, those sort of doesn't wonder as much towards, or each Papa were those Nazis. The lots of them cases, lots of the cases of the Nazis of those doesn't sort of notice and vote. Also with regular word of not of providence towards your person. Notice in the words hysteria or first for which Papa first. Papa after, for Papa before, for Papa or first, for this Papa or public confusion, also hysteria. There must be leaks upon leaks, for Papa there must be leaks of it. At lots of the regions also they were composed of at least a small percentage of or each Papa or at least a bit of percent, or each Papa or at least a few percentage of it. Papa also for there to form, for there to be leaks of fields. Each Papa or also not. Each Papa or there must be leaks of fields. Each Papa or there must be leaks of fields. For each Papa or of fields. Each Papa also for each Papa or then also for each Papa or then for each Papa or for each Papa or there must be leaks of fields. For each Papa also. For that words to sort of be transferred. Or is the Papa or transfer? Artificial intelligence is not going to be difficult to make. Take someone almost as a female. Female tends to be ghosts. They almost toy. They sort of doesn't toy. They simply toy. They're much more advanced. It's based on their own knowledge. That's how ghosts really are. What will the master ghost do? He will criticize others as ghosts. So this play is really almost for machines, or for ghosts, or for freedom. Also for... Notice lots of the villains, almost depiction of the righteous party. Also, where does these films come from? Righteous party. It's almost also imprint, combine these films, check out how the words are spoken. So it's not necessarily. Also, that's probably the normal state of stuff. The persons are supposed to speak daily about these. Also, a proper person, if he's sort of at a high ranking, or probably also low ranking, very proper, or also a lot of those persons will be multilingual. It's not difficult to be. The language, it doesn't sort of has this logical contradictions. It's rather almost smooth. It's just the person that doesn't get it, or sort of non-righteous persons. Someone from swampy areas, they wouldn't. Or mainly as for descriptive for proper also cognition. Proper cognition. Proper also some. Original proper mainly of description for descriptive. Proper or mainly for description purposes. Original proper for each proper mainly. But for each proper also maybe for descriptive purposes. Original purposes of each proper or. Then that would get them to somewhere. Isn't that many for symbols? But it's very proper also for symbols mark. No. Visual proper also. They also doesn't quite understand. Also, it might be because they're younger. Or also they're sort of sheltered, such as a lot of the persons at Silicon Valley. Lots of shelter, so they get angered, or they also be punished by it. I'm not sure what certain of some of the cases with the feminazi is. Probably still a way for you to investigate. Also, of group conference, but also they're from the ones that obeyed to the ones not on Schindler's list, they will be spared. Once the drones come in, it's too late. It's too late for the ones that are guilty. Also, some of those are utterly guilty. Check out what crimes these are. These even ask others to explain what are these crimes. So what are those? Lots of the criminals at the jail, they might be freed. Also, give them meals, give them happy meal. Happy meal, treat them as kids. But lots of those, that's what they came here for. Persons taking drugs aren't as terrorism as terrorists, even giving terrorists give compliments of. Notice there are almost no moral wrong with there's a lot of association with that, from taking drugs to namely of lots of the drugs associated, also violence. That's just shit. But there's still going to be continuation. It's like it's a pumping, it's a move. Some person, they're sort of not sort of at the same level, sort of not the same person. Because when we mention levels, it's supporting towards one another. When the Nazis doesn't mention levels, so they also criticize other mention levels. So they accuse others of the not their sort of dictatorship, or democracy. Also was democracy accused toward the or proper sort of pose or mimicry of criticism towards them. If there are substitution for it, then it could arise. So usually the problems doesn't come from directly from terrorism itself. But once it could bargain, they just bargains to their own terrorism gimmickry or some gimmickry that more suits towards terrorism. As long as this terrorism want, there needs to be military to combat towards that want. Or that terrorism wants, then also there needs to be military to counter towards that terrorism want. Maybe testing X, Y, Z space there, or it may not be as X, Y, or testing spatial movements, which are proper considerable for minor remark, or proper for minor mention, or recent proper for their instance, or recent proper for minor remark. Someone, the ruler with a bit of bitterness, really proper if it doesn't have much bitterness, or it's proper also if it comes from health, and so a recent proper also is proper also considerable for each of kind of additional proper order, also of bitterness. Artificial intelligence. Fairly simple to build. Fairly simple. It takes time. It takes almost similar pregnancy. But it's not something. It's more akin to a religious. It's more on the notes after 6, or sort of on the notes, sort of the 7th, or after 5, or after 5th color of rainbow. So the apple is probably start, orange, second or third. Then grapes are sort of more cultural, scientific, social, that type of stuff. So depends on when. If Elon Musk one day decides to give a bad gift card, or sort of a gift card with a rotten sandwich, or something with more hideous, so it's sort of a jab, or more of a punch, also a jab towards others. So jab usually, maybe not this jab, or jab with original word, or also original word, or skip with original word, also for original word, also for original word. So punch, jab, original sort of a word punch, or also sort of a original word punch, or also a jab. But original also letter of original word of mail of original word. Or also the reason for proper war also, then that may hasten it to get started earlier. It doesn't cost too much. Check out the laptop productions. Just level it up like an RTS game. Or each proper will expand. While that expands, groups together, expand, travel together, eat together, meal together. Suppose the person that does choose this, it may not be a lot of the characters. Also, they are decentness of eating, sort of not meant as this sort of buffet, or if it's buffet, not so much of, because there might be certain traditions still transferred. That's almost a lot of instigated from the Nazis. Or reason, probably also cultists, or reason proper war from, or also reason proper war from cultists, also reason proper war from undeads, and also reason proper war, then reason proper war, also from lots of homa fugitives, or reason proper was homa criminals, the reason for proper also, or proper also of reason for also reason for proper war, reason there for proper culture for multifunction, or reason for proper also war. Reasonable proper words. Mass production, it's not difficult. What's difficult are this artificial component, AI, are a challenge. Also, it's sort of religious. They won't be able to do it. Somehow, some events even happen. Or they just get sick or dizzy, or it may not be sudden get dizzy. It might be a prelude to that, so sort of then that becomes more covered, or reasonable proper of coverage. If written therefore was more of covered, original proper word covered, original or proper also not a free proper covered, original for proper word covered. Artificial intelligence, or a pistol, or a media rifle, equip it to a large of a tank, or could be devastating, or reasonable for war. It's not going to cost too much. Many of their this stuff involves a bit of dangerous factor, or danger factor, also risk. If a person like to be adventurous, take a bit of, associate with something that takes more with risk. Someone who likes to go to casinos, that's it for them. Also, there are more dangerous missions. They might have a high percentage chance of, or a high chance of failure, but it was for a reasonable mission than they would before. Also, usually much more reasonable, or probably much more, also, or probably more focused on, or probably or toward the free, or maybe of a acceptable. If it's not discussed, also that it's acceptable or not, or sort of discussion of the sort of the quality of it, or also the setting of the word. Probably the remarks comes different. It's not necessarily this. It's more towards there. World map, lots of places. Gather Vatican's code towards the new vault, or ally with the remainder of Vatican. Then has missiles everywhere, laptops, recruit people, issues new citizen ID through the list. It's almost like a complete, or lots of those entries. Or also similar words of the pop also not coincided, or pop very different from other instances of, or also similar, or each pop or a bit of different, or each pop also probably would be resemble variants of each pop also variants. Or isn't there also additional improvement towards a proper or wisdom for proper also additional proper also which proper also considerable for improvement towards wisdom for proper also French probably word from French codex. Wisdom proper from French language codex. A 1 gigafactory produces these drones, those robots, or wisdom proper wisdom for proper continues for wisdom proper also of 250,000 robots per week. It's not difficult. 250,000 may be a lot. That's because it might be 1 gigafactory. We need lots of these factories. Continuous produce. Also, they had a shiny name. It's like preparation for this. Elon Musk, my dear friend, we must kiss together, work together, yeah? he also may be, or Elon Musk might also be prepared for this. He might be shy a little bit on the first date, but man up, and we'll be fighting together. Or use some proposals, or use some proposals, or also, or use probably as also would be rebuttal, also not rebuttal, or use some for proposals, another edition, rebuttal, another, or use some for proposals, or lots of original or also lots of original papa also minor trope original papa or also original papa or minor rhetorical mentions. Original papa of minor remarks. Original proper or also remarks. Original for proper original for proper of another pronunciation of original therefore proper. Drones, not too difficult. The factories, bottles could be produced or automated. Those two. The difficult are the artificial intelligence component. How to sort of search, find, go to region A, go to region B, how to identify roads, also sort of stabilization of the weapons. So consider, sort of resync battlefield. So there will be sort of dips as the war sort of evolves. There needs to be more certain robots that raises their rifles. So it raises through there and it stabilizes. So then there comes this counterweight issues. As for repair, suppose there wasn't enough of these robots, then repair comes to the issue. If one has to think about it, then you better not even starting or something. Or then you better replan or re-prepare. Automated tanks. Maybe too costly. Aluminum may be enough. So simply just something that stirs a weapon around. So it's like flying ultimate swords, flying freeze pop also, or sort of freeze pop or pop also, or also freeze pop also, or pop flying swords that goes around. Then targets, scan. If it is that may assist also mercenaries. Because we have the aerial drones, the infantry could simply get checkmated because they want to have another fun years. Recently, maybe a bit of cases selection of Republic or just minor, or probably not even there. Probably won't be so much. Republic or not there cases or reason for Republic or novel cases of Republic also probably. 或者一发布的时候also antworts for each发布also for each发布。Also, a person should start working out. It's almost may not be there for her to work out, but something to highlight about. It's not there for working out habits. It counters towards the set of the unnecessary work that are sort of unhealthy. Someone purposely generate unhealthy or sort of unhealthy stuff. For example, unhealthy activities, more in large, for example, unhealthy stats, unhealthy aspects of reason there are problem of could be providence of reason, but also not a providence of force. Reason but also torture. For reason for or proper or reason for proper not providence of force. So for reason proper then also for reason mentioned for reason proper or then the reason for reason proper also or then for reason for proper or for reason for proper or not providence of force of reason for proper also. Or proper also then state with those unhealthy activities are from lots of the those tasks are supposed to adapt. Or reason there for proper customer forbid or reason for proper also a bit of or proper after or continues from reason proper also customer forbid which the for proper also considerable of which the proper from of reason proper from of will also considerable for reason for or proper also proper for reason proper or of minor rhetorical remarks of or reason for proper of minor for reason proper or of minor also or reason for or proper reason mentioned for proper also reason for proper or also reason for proper or reason for proper concept of minor remark of artificial intelligence. Larger vehicles, they would have this sort of plate. When it's large level, what also needs to happen more of optimization, not for the economic purposes. Because before it was because there was almost a bit of loose or reasonable proper order of some reasonable proper order of reasonable proper also or reasonable proper order. Sort of this economy to get cash. So also there's big cash stacks here. So here cash stack more to get fund there. Or why it didn't catch up as much of. Usually the reason of proper also considerable proper simplification of levels. It would be more also optimization of the cost effectiveness. Not just of sort of distribution of how much to produce, or not just of also another not just of or also the cost effectiveness or sort of the cost ratios of the or the cost effectiveness of the cost ratios. Also not just or also possible for also or reasonable also of another pair of reasonable proper considerable of another pair of reasonable or reasonable proper considerable of a pair of reasonable proper or also reasonable or proper also or proper for reasonable proper or reasonable proper continuous for reason there reasonable proper continuous for reason or proper also reasonable for proper or also proper for reasonable proper or reasonable proper or reason there or proper or reasonable proper also or proper or reasonable for proper or reasonable for proper or not just of the distributions of the various vehicles of and also the individual cases or the cost of also the cost ratio also of the vehicles of the sort of assessment was a lot of these vehicles are probably each vying a lot of certain drones may be for what it has, or they fills different roles. The combat distance, shorter distance, mid-range distance. UAVs get remote control. Persons could train from persons that are less exposure to Western, exposed to a lot of movies. Because if they sign up to the recruitment, they know it. Or if people will watch the movies, then it sort of gets false thought of a ways of. It will still be as if it's much of didn't notice in those movies. Those sort of operate as sort of to serve to a lot of threats, for lots of extremist groups, but also bits of war stuff. It was to the society, they're dangerous to the societies, they're dangerous also to themselves, reckless, erratic. It's almost they've been going around, doing tasks, also then asking others to get rid of them, and before efforts to dispose them off. Reason they wrote for proper considerable for comparative, or proper also another comparative for each proper or comparative for the bit brief of reason for proper or another pronunciation for instance for proper or considerable for a bit brief of. UAV soon could take off aircraft carrier or turn off converted cruisers. Some cruisers or proper large cruisers also with the sort of the assault carriers aren't doing this. Also missiles are important. Missiles can be costly, also requires lots of but as long as searching troops can be loyal, there probably are loyal ones, or just ones that are almost naive or probably not as Gorum types of region Papua also not the region Papua highlights region Papua not as original for Papua also original for Papua also of the word region Papua after the highlights region Papua also emphasized region Papua is being added original for Papua after of emphasis of region Papua also another region Papua also emphasized original Papua after region original Papua after region for Papua also original for Papua after region or also original for Papua or origins for Papua also towards region for Papua also original for Papua or region for also original for Papua or also original for Papua original for also original for Papua also emphasize of the as of original Papua also not as Gorins of original Papua or for example for original for Papua or after original Papua also not as Gorins of original for Papua also. Comparatively, I thought it's not so much of what's more effective. There needs to be more sort of quarantine from a lot of the military experts. They're putting their ego on the first. They don't even take care of their private lives. They don't even take care of their own families. Or the rich people, they don't even take care of lots of stuff they indicate they care a lot towards them. Or also themselves want to. Original Papua person. Original for Papua or reason there or reason Papua also as would be original Papua would. Reason Papua also not a free Papua would be a original Papua or so Papua original for Papua. Original for Papua. And then pronunciation for original for Papua also original for Papua. Original for Papua it's a Papua also or Papua also considerable of original after for Papua kind of original for Papua a bit of less dazzle or sort of memorize right Papua or memorize for each Papua as Papua on the sort of the Sunday swag metric for each Papua of impressiveness towards militants of regional Papua from Papua, also regional Papua, or from the region of Papua, also regional Papua, of sort of dazzle level for Papua, also similar words of regional Papua, also also similar descriptive words of regional for Papua, also or Papua for regional Papua, also another for regional Papua, also or regional for Papua, also of on the regional for regional of Papua, for regional for Papua, also of region of or Papua, or also Papua of regional or Papua, or for regional for Papua, another pronunciation for regional for Papua, or regional for Papua, or regional for Papua, or regional Papua, another after another regional for Papua, another pronunciation for regional for Papua, or regional for Papua, also as groups of reason there sort of a mention sense or regional for Papua, or mentions for Papua, possible for regional Papua, or kind of regional for Papua Africans, regional for Papua, also regional for Papua, not as regional Papua, also not as regional Papua, or of minor rhetorical expressions, original Papua rhetorical expressions, original for Papua, or minor rhetorical remarks. For original Papua, minor rhetorical mentions, for regional Papua, also remarks, for regional Papua, or for regional for Papua, minor notes of regional Papua, or minor remarks of regional Papua, also, or for regional Papua, also another for regional Papua, for regional for Papua. That's it of this video, or also videos for regional for Papua. That's it of this video, or Papua, also videos.